Recording in progress.
Everybody ready? Meeting to order. If you would all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Amy, can you give us the open public meeting statement, please?
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Roxbury was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. On December 28, 2023, notice was emailed and faxed to the Daily Record, the Roxbury Ledger, the Roxbury Register, and published in the Daily Record. Notice shall also remain posted directly here on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilman Carey.
Here.
Councilman Crowley.
Here.
Councilman DeFilippo.
Here.
Councilman Hall.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Patillo.
Here.
Councilman Riley.
Here.
Mayor Albrecht.
Here. Thank you. That brings us to approval of minutes, May 14, 2024.
I'll move the minutes.
Thank you. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. With Sean abstaining. And we are now at our public portion. If anybody would wish to get up and speak, now is the time. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Noelle Neal. I've had the pleasure of interacting with a few of you, but I'm representing Wonder. We are a solar provider based out of Colorado, and we are proposing a project at 271 Kings Highway. You should have packets, and for those of you in the audience, there's some information regarding the community solar program on the press table. But just a quick introduction of the project. It's a 5 megawatt system that we're proposing on a building that was completed in 2023. The benefit of the system is really going to be able to offer residents 20% savings on their utility bill. It will be on your utility bill when you receive it, and it's in lockstep with what JCP is. It's 20% off of that rate, and it adjusts according to the rate adjustments based off of the utility. I know that there are a lot of questions. I'm happy to answer those, and I will provide cards upon leaving so you can reach me with any additional questions you might have.
Okay, great. Councilman Crowley. Well, he's the biggest. I know.
And I'll talk to you about. I do have a lot of questions. I talked to John last week. One of the biggest questions is we get one document with everything in it, not links to go through, so that we have, we're sure what the documentation is. I probably have, about 8 or 9 questions or so. I'll hand it over to John, disseminate with Noel and to the council.
So I know the one question was, you wanted everything on one bill. Am I mistaken? Is that what's coming forward in the future?
So the Board of Public Utilities has proposed that at January 2025, so before the system is online, that everything will be consolidated on a single bill. There's an example of the utility bill today with community solar. It is factored in there, but as it stands today, they would be, residents would have 2 separate payments, but again, that will hopefully be changing come January 2025.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. We did have a chance to talk. So my concerns remain the same, the economics.
Sure.
I need to understand, and we haven't been able to unravel, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this either. I'm sure Councilman Crowley's questions encompass this, but who makes money?
Sure.
Solar power, yeah.
Before we start throwing around, we're going to save residents, how much did you say?
20%.
Right, I need you to demonstrate that
Sure.
somehow through the economics.
Sure. So
So until I understand the economics, right, the 20% doesn't mean anything.
Understood.
And I don't, if I understand this correctly, you're not gonna be able to explain the economics to me right now. It's gonna take longer than that.
I can certainly try at a high level. So if you go to page 4, you'll see an example of the project-specific savings. As I mentioned, New Jersey oversees the community solar program, so it's very strict requirements. And as I mentioned, it does reflect on the utility bill, so you'll receive those credits. You can see exactly what part of your bill is being offset through solar. And so that will adjust based off of the rate, so, sorry.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
And I
please.
understand how the program works,
Understood.
but we've heard anecdotally at
Okay.
least that in other communities where this was set,
Mhm.
that's not the outcome that they experience. So that's my concern, is that once it's up and it's running, whether or not you can fulfill the commitment you're making.
Sure.
And again, this is not the kind of thing I want to do.
No, I completely understand, and it's not locking your residents into community solar, it's an opt-in. So I participate in community solar in Colorado. It's an opt-in program. I can opt out at any time. I save 10% off of my utility rate. I haven't had that experience, so I'm sorry to hear that there are other areas that have. But I would, I would suggest looking at page 4. We have a lot of footnotes at the bottom that pull exactly from the specific program. And then, and I apologize for those in the audience, you don't have this. But if you refer back to Appendix B, you'll see a sample bill with that solar credit for community solar. So, I would be happy to, if you have additional questions after going through this, I'd be happy to set up a call and we can walk through that in more length. I'm done. Thank you.
I had a whole bunch of questions, some touch on that. Some touch on who is the real provider of it. I'm not sure that community people need to worry. Residential, you shouldn't have to worry about who's the provider, who's the service of it. And so, I don't think it's fair to ask me these questions tonight, that's why I thought I'd send them to John, send them to you.
Sure.
And stuff. Main concern is, when do you think you will be doing this? Because they're gonna change, the EPU's gonna change the bill, which is probably my number one problem with the system, is that currently people show a JCPL bill that shows the entire energy credit. And it's a subsequent bill of 80% of that number. When do you think that's gonna flip the relationship to you actually having your system online?
That's a really great question. So we are pushing to have this work. So JCP, excuse me, has, last time I checked, which was late last week, had 84 megawatts of capacity left. We are submitting into that program with your support. And so with that, we'll have that one-to-one credit. If we miss this window and we do get your support for the next window, which we think may be opening in November, if not November, then June of next year, then that's when we think that they may be taking that step down on the credit front. And so that's why we're really pushing for us to get into this current block. And to answer your question, on who's managing this, it's a front of the meter system, which means that the system ties into the grid in front of the meter, so it's going directly to the grid. The utility is managing it, and then we hire a third party that's well known throughout the U.S., Arcadia, that assists with managing the subscribers. Again, subscribers can opt in and opt out at any time.
And this question is how you get subscribers, because you're getting state money, and that's why you want to have low and middle income people. My question is, how do you find them?
Correct.
These are questions that you
Yeah.
don't have to answer now, but these are some of the questions I really have.
Yeah, so Arcadia is well versed in finding LMI off-takers, and that's part of the requirement for us getting into that program.
Any other questions? Okay, not at this point.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to get up and speak? No? Okay, I will close the first public portion. That brings us to report of council liaisons, representative council committees, and new business, old business. A, reports of council liaison, representative and council committees. Councilman Hall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I hope these weren't put in specifically for me, but for my,
Well, we can hear you now.
Fred, you can hear me now? Okay, good. we have our kids triathlon coming up this Thursday night for anybody that's, wants to come out. We only have a few hundred participants, and this is a great event, so if you get an opportunity, come to the rec center, to watch. It's a lot of fun, and we've done this for many years. And it's going to get started, I think we're having our first meet on Wednesday night. The person said news about Broadway. Sad to see her go. It seems like a pretty good opportunity. I'm sure she's gonna miss watching you get down in the dunk tank under the times. But best of luck to you, Broadway. Really gonna miss you. You have the wet down on the 29th, folks, and that should be it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Crowley.
We did have the EDC meetings since our last meeting. And I also get the pleasure of being at the ice cream at the triathlon. Tickets to ice cream. So it's always good. Thank you, Mayor.
Wow, thank you, Deputy Mayor Patillo.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things. One, I'd like to thank our township professionals, planning board and assemblyman, in Gambler's office for their support for the residents that live on Salmon Road in Landing. There's been some severe drainage issues going on there for far too long, and it seems like they just keep moving the problem around. I'm sure they want to be good neighbors, but they're just simply not being good neighbors. So I just want to thank those other boards and people for pressuring or continuing to make sure they're doing the correct thing on that stone wall project.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just quickly, Sean, though, we heard from the engineer, Ferrero, that there is a solution now being applied. Has that been effective or not?
No, there is not enough solution. Well, they've tried to mitigate many different ways. Mostly with silk fences attached to chain link fences, because the water comes off their property so severe that the standard swales and silk fences don't even hold it back. So the most recent development is a whole new drainage system, which has been designed, be one of the designers has been submitted to the township. We'll see how that works. Hopefully they can install that sooner than later. Although we are heading into the dry season, fall comes very quickly and along with the rain. So hopefully that can be handled. Right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're looking for funds for the planning.
Exactly, so that's right.
Will be an issue.
I think the planning board is putting something in the job. In addition to that, Mayor, Shippingport Road, John, back last year, the same developer dug a trench through Shippingport. It is now a valley. I would hope that they could go back and fill that in, so the residents that wait over 20 years for that to pay and at least have it. John, do we have an update on the fire truck that's supposed to be auctioned off this year? Rick?
It's in our yard, ready to go, so we'll be advertising in the next couple of weeks. The person who manages this has been out with some surgery, so we've been a little late on it. But the truck is in our yard now and ready for auction, which should come up in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Do we also, John, do we have an update on the cost recovery RFP?
Yeah, we actually sent it out one time. We're sending it out again for proposals. Hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll have some proposals, at least one proposal, and hopefully there's multiple proposals, which needs to take a look at, review, analyze, and whenever they're in board, we'll bring the council with a recommendation to a board.
Thank you, and then I just want to wish Rob the best of luck in all our future endeavors. We'll be severely missed in Roxbury.
Thank you.
I thought we just broke one with it just right.
I know, right? And now she,
I think it was a good experience for you as well as us. Certainly comes across that way. You're a great member of our community who really did good here. So we thank you for everything. On top of that, we also had some retirement there a couple weeks ago. There were some other long-standing employees that are down here. And And that's all I have to say.
All right, Councilman DeFilippo.
Rod was leaving?
What?
What the hell? I wasn't gonna say anything. But now you do. I've really had the pleasure of working with Rod for 6 years. Her tenure as director of our library, as the council's liaison. And what she's done at the library has been transformative. We took a library that was struggling financially, and really did not have a robust programmatic area, and we turned it into an organization that is doing very well in terms of funding its own projects, is less reliant on tax dollars, and with an incredibly talented staff, and an array of programs that mind-boggling to try to talk about. But more than that, right? She also established relationships with the Rotary Club, the Women's Club. She works on the EDC, the Economic Development Committee in town. So her contributions are lengthy and significant. Her mark, she'll have left her mark on Roxbury. And there's no way around it. The opportunity she's taking is a tremendous challenge. Montclair is not Roxbury. But we wish you well, and you're just the person to take over that library. In the meantime, for the council's benefit, the Personnel Committee of the Trustees has met. We've interviewed a search firm. We'll be probably retaining that search firm shortly, and we'll begin a broad a broad search for a new director, and with just the hope that that person will be able to fill the shoes. So, on behalf of the council, I want to thank you for everything you've done for us. We'll miss you. Thank you.
Right back at you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank
Why,
you.
is somebody else leaving? Who else?
Councilman Carey.
Rodwood, thank you very much. You've done a wonderful job, and we're gonna miss you.
Right back at you.
The only other thing I had was, John, going back to, I don't know if you remember a few meetings back, I had asked about some monitoring at Reaper Road for excessive speed going through there, and made mention of potentially putting another speed limit sign over by the woods. Has that been discussed, in the works?
It is. I think the police department is doing selective enforcement there, but they've also are working on doing a comprehensive review of signage there, and also working with Mount Olive, only because of the entryway into the plan. It kind of needs to be coordinated with them. So that's still on the list, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we did talk about that also when we had our recent traffic committee meeting. So I think everybody's in tune with that. It's just a matter of getting it moving.
Right, because I mean, the speed, as Chief DeCombe said, the speed limit really isn't, it really hasn't been as bad. It's more of a visual than, actual speed, but, to have the reminders there, I think, other than entering the area and exiting the area would be a big help.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you. Sorry.
Yes.
John, when Bob and I were talking to you about these, it wasn't so much that people couldn't hear us up here, but when we have a planning board meeting, if you'd like to attend the next one, we're going to welcome when we have 30, 40, 70 people in the audience, and we have 7 professionals sitting around here, and sometimes some standing up at the board, working with these 2 mics, and sometimes that one, if the public stands up to ask a question, we're repeating things over and over again. So it wasn't taking it bigger for the council, that our planning board members get into, it was the addition. We had used an extra 1 or 2 up here, that's possible for Fred, but.
And
Understood.
the problem happens when the heating and the air conditioning is on, which is pretty
Yes.
much every city.
Right, so we did add for planning board, zoning board, we have additional mics that we don't have them up tonight because they're wireless, so we don't have them up for a council meeting. So we do have those available, and I will be at the next planning board meeting in the next few because it's going to be busy trying to assist with HVAC. And also this mic, it's important, we've done some testing on it, it's really important for whatever reason with that microphone for people that are speaking, if it's citizen input, for people to speak into the microphone rather than.
We never had an issue with that, Mike.
Okay, but that's one, if you are standing back, you can't hear that well. And we understand too, you get a lot of people, planning board, this room's been filled, right? It's been a standing room out the door and there's a lot of ambient noise in addition to HVAC, just because people are shifting around and whispering. And so we're gonna continue to work on it. We've talked to Steve and Rick some about the HVAC. There's probably limits to what we can do with that right now, but just because of what we're dealing with and what the potential costs would be to move things, but we're all looking at it just to try to make the environment better for the meetings.
John, are we thinking about additional speakers in the back of the room?
We could do that. I will say that when you speak into these microphones and we tested it, you can hear clearly. But if there's a lot of noise around, that may be where the problem is. So we can look at that. We can look at volume. Adding the mics here probably was helpful just because there's a lot of shuffling around of microphones for people. So
Well, we probably could have used a couple extra, like I said. These get a little intrusive if you're trying to work here.
I know it's difficult. I mean, and even after the one meeting, or during the meeting, this microphone, whoever was using it, it was pointed like this.
It's right in your face. You're looking at the planning board, you're looking at maps.
So when you're thinking about people hearing that, it's going to be tough. So it's kind of a situation we're trying to make it work for everybody, and we're going to keep working on it to try to make it better. Especially when there's a lot of people. On a night like tonight, right? Even the HVAC's not on that much. It's on that.
Well,
But we know when it's busy.
My mic was this far away and Rick couldn't hear me, so.
Yes,
You heard me just fine with this one.
Mr. Blood?
If I can, from somebody sitting in the audience, my critique and understanding there's all new microphones up there, they are very directional. So when Councilman Crowley was speaking, his microphone is aiming over his head, and when he turned to the rest of council to speak, we couldn't hear him. Councilman Riley, your microphone was aiming this way. You spoke, we couldn't hear you. If it's aiming at you, no matter how far away you are, it picks up your voice. Councilman DiFilippo, yours was aiming up in the air, so when you spoke, we couldn't hear it. But if you aim it at yourself, even if it's further away, we can hear it. But if you turn your mouth away from that microphone, we don't hear it. So they're very directional. These ones up front are kind of all-encompassing, and the two additional ones they added up front here will help, but you have to realize if that microphone's not aiming at you, nobody out here hears you. So just from this point of view.
I understand, but
Anytime,
the language is
Rather long.
But even if it's curved away from you and get it away, as long as it's aiming at you, it picks it up. So that's just from the peanut gallery.
Why would we have done that? Why wouldn't we have gotten microphones that pick up sound?
Listen, we're gonna interpret.
That doesn't make.
Yeah.
I think it's it's individual to each individual rather than sharing microphones. That was the issue. There were a couple of microphones here shared by multiple people in the past, and it didn't pick up either of them. But now that everybody has their dedicated microphone, your voice is heard. Where in the past when you were sharing, it wasn't. And there was only a couple that were shared that were difficult.
The problem is we're all gonna push this side, so.
Yep.
Because they're directional, but we'll work with it.
Yep.
And we're gonna speak. If that was the problem, that was the problem before, was because we weren't pulling it towards us to people sharing. We still have the same problem.
The suggestion I made to the IT guy, which he was not in favor of, is I said, well, just make it push to talk. If you wish to talk, you push the microphone, you aim the microphone at you and you talk. And when you're not talking, don't worry about where the microphone is because they can't hear you, get it out of the way. But if you want to say something, push the button, it lights up. recognizing that you're speaking and people will know whose microphone is active.
Rick, John, I'm appreciative. We're appreciative that you're doing this, okay? Here's the thing, all right? People on the planning board, when it gets really crowded like that, get angry about what we're talking about and the fact that they can't hear us.
Yes.
We'd like them to not be angry about not being able to hear us, okay?
And Rob has replaced all the microphones up there, and I don't know that they've told you that this is the dynamics of each microphone that you have in front of you now. I figured I would let you know because obviously some of them being used in manners that they weren't necessarily designed for. So now you understand what the expectations of each microphone.
Thank you. All right, so that brings me to my report. Everybody reported on the happenings that previously went on. Rockwood, we're going to miss you. I personally am going to miss you tremendously. You have transformed our library into a vibrant town center. Thank you for that. I also want to let everybody know Roxbury is having a pretty busy Saturday, beginning at 8 o'clock in Hershey Lake. Our Roxbury PDA is holding a 5K. We've got that going on at 9 o'clock. Our fire department is hosting the state, New Jersey State Exempt Firemen's Association at Roxbury High School, and that is the first time since the 60s that they've been there, so that's fun. And then we have our Veterans Cruise at Short Hill, well, they will be stopping at Short Hills Beach for our Roxbury veterans, so I encourage everybody to come out to the Short Hills Beach by 12 o'clock. Ms. Lodge be up by 12:15 to cheer them on. And then at 4 o'clock, we get to go over to Roxbury Fire Company 1 for their dual wet down for Tower 15 and Ambulance 110. So that is the dual wet down this Saturday. I also want to give a huge shout out to our fire department and our police for everything they did this weekend. You know what you did, and that's all I have. No, I've indulged you all night. Of course I can.
Thank you.
I think I know what you wanted.
I would like to recognize former mayor, former county commissioner Kathy before, and wish her a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. All right. Okay. John.
Yeah, if I could just mention to council, I did put in front of you earlier tonight just a rough cost estimate for the Dell Avenue NJDOT grant we're looking to apply for. That's on the agenda tonight to submit the resolution to submit that to the state. It's due by the beginning of July. This is our last meeting before then. That number's still rough. It's still being worked on by the engineering department. For those that are familiar, there's a lot of concrete work involved in a portion of Dell Avenue that's adjacent to the Public Works Department driveway. So this is included in there. We're going to try to get a pretty large DOT grant. As you can see, the request is significant from them. We're hopeful. We've done well in the past. We're going to try for more money. If we don't get the amount of grant money we're looking for, we're obviously going to scale this project back, and it may be done over more than 1 year in multiple phases. And also not shown in there, we have some off-track money we can use for this project. Locally, we have, I think it's a little bit less than $40,000 from the Nordic development that occurred a few years ago. We received some off-site track money for road improvements along this area. So just to give you an idea of what that amount is, we didn't really have a budget whenever the application or the agenda was complete last week. So this will give you an idea of what we're looking for. And again, depending on what we get back from grant money, this project may be scaled back. But if we're successful, we'll try to do the entire roadway, which is a significant stretch.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Anything else? That's it. All righty then. New business, old business, none. Matters requested referred by council members, manager, attorney, or clerk. We have a block party on Carroll Drive. So moved. Second, all in favor? Excellent. We now come to number 9, introduction of proposed ordinances, 17-24. An ordinance amending chapter 13, land development, article 6, checklist to include a new section 6.108, zoning board of adjustments checklist.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions, roll call?
Yep.
The second reading is July, please vote on, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to understand the regular point, the checklist.
So, if you look in the backup, it says what was.
Yeah, I think it wasn't part of the ordinance, I think it was prepared by the zoning board attorney, actually, Attorney Bryce was involved in this also.
Yeah, the zoning board attorney actually requested this, that it's codified as required. They did have a checklist that they were using, it should be part of the ordinance. They had, an incomplete checklist within the ordinance, and this is a more robust checklist. To hold everybody to the standard requirements for an application.
Okay, thank you. All right, roll call.
Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
Councilman Crowley.
Yes.
Councilman DeFilippo.
Yes.
Councilman Hall. Deputy Mayor Patillo.
Yes.
Councilman Riley. Mayor Albert.
Yes. Okay. 18-24, an ordinance amending chapter 13, land development, article 7, zoning regulations, section 7.9, general provisions for residential zones to include a new subsection 7.909, fences.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
Councilman Crowley.
Yes.
Councilman DeFilippo.
Yes.
Councilman Hall.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Patillo.
Yes.
Councilman Riley.
Yes.
Mayor Albert.
Yes. Thank you. Number 10, hearing and adoption of ordinances on second reading. 16-24, an ordinance amending chapter 4, general licensing, section 4-19, towing operators of the revised general ordinances and revising the towing and storage fees. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay. Public, now, if anybody in the public would like to get up and speak on this, I see none, okay, I will take a motion to close.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? I'll take a motion to adopt. And a second?
I'll second.
Roll.
Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
Councilman Crowley.
Yes.
Councilman DeFilippo.
Yes.
Councilman Hall.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Patillo.
Yes.
Councilman Riley.
Yes.
Mayor Albert.
Yes. Thank you. That brings us to number 11, introduction and adoption of resolutions.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say this earlier. We need to pull one of these because I didn't get tax clearance on 2024-174. They will not be getting a renewal on their liquor license until they clear that up. And that's at quality and next week. After June 30th at midnight, they can't sell it until they clear up their issue with the state. Okay, so that needs to be pulled.
Okay, so we're going 2024-174. Thank you. Yes. Second?
Second.
And some questions, comments? Yeah, okay. Mr. Howard?
Which one of these are actually active, which one is really on the time, like, this right up front of the,
We're talking about liquor licenses.
so how to tell which ones?
Well, in the resolution, some of them say currently inactive.
Are those the only ones that are not active?
Well, there's a few of them that have to be renewed before we can do a transfer. Like, if they answered on their application to the state, which is online at the time that they submitted the renewal and their $200 state fee, if they answered yes that they're still active, then we're renewing it as it's active, and then they submit the information that they're not active. Like Red Lobster is one,
Friday.
Marketplace is another, the one on Route 46.
So my question is, how many liquor licenses do we have
That's a lot.
that are not being used?
How many liquor licenses?
I have a couple of transfers in-house right now, so to answer that would be, I think around 15. If you're gonna do the distribution and the, if you're talking about distribution club,
13?
we had, yeah.
Mr. Rice?
No, I was just gonna say that Amy's absolutely right, there's so many different types of liquor licenses that you have to pay attention to.
Well, we have 5 distributions.
You can also end up with something called pocket licenses, which are subject to removal as well.
So, Mr. Rice, we've seen, somebody's advertising for a pocket license for sale on Facebook. Can you maybe explain to somebody, maybe that we don't know exactly what that is?
Certainly, a pocket license is an inactive license that a license holder has. They can only technically have it for a certain amount of time. I can't remember exactly what the exact time frame is off the top of my head, but they're allowed to have an inactive license, hold it in a quote-unquote pocket for a certain amount of time before they either utilize it, sell it, or transfer it.
Thank you.
They can sell it anywhere, so it's a matter of, if they agree to sell it to somebody, that person doesn't get to buy it out back, the background searches.
And this council actually approves that transfer.
Yes, I have 2 applications in-house, I can't recall it, they can review them, they can't transfer the license until they renew. I think one is TGI Fridays and the other is one of the others is currently Pocket. So you have Pocket, you have inactive maybe still is out of location, but the fences have been active.
Okay.
But, and the state just recently decided that they're going to put an end to the extended Pocket licenses. We're giving people,
It's called a special ruling
a
now.
deadline to place or forgo their license, but even some of the ones we have to move with quartile, we're only in the first quartile, and the people in the first, in other areas in New Jersey, they have to give the 2025 license, so ours, but they still have to timely file, and they have to pay their fees, they have to submit their applications everywhere on time, if they don't, they have a problem.
Wow.
And then they have to go to the ABC for what's called a special ruling.
Mr. Price, I know you said you didn't know the exact number. 5 years for a pocket license, 10 years, 20 years?
It's supposed to be 2.
Yeah,
But you do a special ruling, and they keep extending.
that's right.
Special through the state.
2
Yes,
terms, I
the
should
state
say.
ABC.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I know there were questions that the public may have had.
But as Amy just indicated, there is, I guess, some regulations that are now enacted to try and clamp down a little bit on those continual pocket licenses, and that's why they're making them get those special rulings, because they want to see them get back into the marketplace, so to
I would
speak.
love to see some new businesses open.
Pocket to all retail licenses.
No.
Well, they don't have to be, but generally, yes.
I can give the council a whole list of the status of each and every license in town.
That would be great.
And, you know, how many.
I would love to see that.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. So, any other questions, Mark?
No, that's it.
And Councilman Riley? I know you have something to say.
I'll be abstaining on all the liquor licenses for sure. I wanted to clarify, 2024 183 was the lease for the Morristown Medical Center. That lease is only to August 31st, 2024, correct? For the next 2 months.
That is correct.
Just want to clarify that. We already talked about stormwater, so I think that was good. Trees being removed on Leland Avenue, where are these trees?
They are sporadic, but Rick, you could probably give a general idea of where they are.
Are they in bad shape or?
These trees were disturbed when the sidewalks were replaced between Ryder Road and, say, Oak Hill. So they're not every tree, but there were trees where the roots were significantly disturbed, that the tree is either not gonna make it or could be unstable.
Okay.
We have,
Just wanted to
Paul
know.
LaBelle had spoken with individual residents, so there's no
Okay. That's what I-
pushback or surprises regarding these trees.
It was only a surprise for us.
That's right.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else?
Nope, that's all right.
Any other questions? All right. Okay, roll call.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Councilman Crowley,
Yes.
Councilman DeFilippo,
Yes.
Councilman Hall,
Yes.
Councilman Deputy Mayor Patel.
Yes.
Councilman Riley.
Yes, except for all the liquor license out of the city.
Mayor Albert.
Yes. That brings us to personnel changes, of which there are none yet. 13, communications, June 21st, 2024. Any comment? Nope. Public portion, our second public portion. If anybody would like to get up and speak, please do so now and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I close the second public portion. Do we have an executive session tonight?
Mayor, can I quickly, I apologize for going, I'm out of order, but I just want to, one more time, this is last meeting here, Rick Blood, our Public Works Director. A lot of people were at his event that we had for a recently retired party. I just want to thank Rick again for everything he's done for the town over the
This
years.
is the last one? I didn't realize
This is
that.
it. I mean, he's here all the time, so it's like a fixture, so
Right?
it's
Oh,
gonna
Rick.
be different. We're gonna get Steve, so he'll be on the hot seat, but I
Had I
do
known, I
want to
would have had more to grill him with.
I just want to thank him one more time. His end of June is coming much quicker than I wish it would, but great loss for the town. Great for him being here all the years. I just want to thank him again publicly because he's been a great asset to Roxbury.
Thank you, Rick. All right, so I lied, we did have a personal change.
Good next, Steve.
All right, and do we have an executive session?
Madam Mayor, I believe that we do. It's going to be, it's going to be attorney-client privilege, contract negotiation.
Terrific. Okay, so, executive session,
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Roxbury, the County of Morris, New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Council with the public excluded, whereas it is deemed appropriate that the Township Council discuss the matters hereinafter mentioned